Green Noise is back.
A podcast series about nature, biodiversity, conservation, and ecotourism.
Before we even had words such as protected area, biodiversity, we had people who interacted with the environment. People cannot be separated with the environment.
It's conservation by nature, right?
CapeNature plays a very, very significant role in this practice.
Welcome back to Green Noise, a podcast brought to you by CapeNature. This special episode is on honoring culture and ancestors in conservation. And I'm joined by two men here who, let's just say, are very qualified, far more qualified than me. They've got lots of letters in their titles and behind their names that I don't even necessarily know what they mean. But we're about to find out. Firstly, I'm delighted to welcome Thabiso Mokoena, SMME Development Specialist, and then Clement Williams from DCAS, the Western Cape Initiation Program, Khoisan and Traditional Affairs. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the link between cultural access and conservation success. But first, let's figure out what all those letters I just said are. So Clement, let's start with you. DCAS, the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport, and you're on the Western Cape Initiation Program for Khoisan and Traditional Affairs. What do you do for work, man?
Thank you, Dan. What I'm doing, I'm actually the coordinator. You know, initiation is a very complex program, and it requires government to work with a lot of stakeholders to address the challenges that initiation faces in the Western Cape.
Are we primarily talking about Xhosa initiation rituals or a variety of initiation rituals?
A variety. I'm a Xhosa, but I work with all the cultures that practice initiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it quite diverse? I mean, the most famous ones are what happens when boys become men around 18 years old, but I imagine there are ones for girls too. There are ones happening at different ages.
Yeah, there's ones for girls. For now, it's only one area that does that, and that is the Khoisan community from the west coast to Morrisburg. The girls go in from 16 years old for about 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, that's a long time.
Yeah, but all of the initiates, even the male ones, they have to go first for a medical screening before they can go in. Now, the girls normally go in September, but the others, the Basotho, the Xhosa, the Hlubi, they practice initiation twice a year. Specifically Xhosa, because they go in winter as well.
Yeah.
But the Basotho and Hlubi, they practice initiation only in summer. Now, the summer season starts from the 1st of November and lasts till the 31st of January. It's 3 months officially, and then the winter season is 1st of May till the 31st of July. So government used 3 months for each of the seasons, but 3 months preparations, because government doesn't have land or own land to practice initiation.
Right.
So we have to go out, to stakeholders such as CapeNature, who assist us a lot in terms of land. But maybe I must just make one clarity. The Basotho and the Hlubi are the cultures that practice initiation, up the mountains.
Yeah.
And the Xhosas, they practice this culture, on flat land.
In the bush.
Yes, and normally closer to the residential areas. So that's how our roads crossed with CapeNature.
I see.
Yeah.
It must be a fascinating and complex thing, because these are ancient traditions, fiercely guarded and protected, do need regulation and protection because of miscreant actors, people who pretend to be this and then do that, or aren't qualified to safely do this and then do that, taking advantage of young people. And so there must be this odd push and pull where traditional leaders need government and need to work with government, but also only want to let government in so far, because otherwise it's their thing.
Yeah, that's true. The most challenge we face then is that Basotho, especially, and the Hlubis, they started making business about this practice. And for us as government, it's worrying, because it washes actually the values away.
I see.
Yeah, now it becomes,
money
making,
Mm-hmm.
And really, you correct there. that the government nationally went to develop a Customary Initiation Act, which was promulgated during 2021. And since then, we started to organize the program. And the Act does require, some sort of compliance in terms of how long before time to apply for land. And at the same time, the Act does require that government provide land, drinking water for the initiates, sanitation, as well as waste removal. Those are things in my time when I went in, which were not there. We didn't need to go for medical screening either, you see. So things, government has started to tighten up because of a lot of reasons, especially if you think about
safety of the initiates.
We have, like, for instance, if I can make an example of Eastern Cape, most of the Xhosas and Basutus, originate from Eastern Cape. But if you look at the stats in terms of fatalities, then you're shocked to see that how many deaths happen in the Eastern Cape and how many deaths happen here, you see. Yeah. So also what I think also makes it very easy for us to manage initiation is because here there's no communal land.
Oh, I see.
You see, land belongs either to the state
or private.
I see. So you have to negotiate land. Yes, and the way we do it then is that all the initiation school principles, they apply to us. We've got a set of criteria which they must meet. Then we then go out to CapeNature, for instance, to ask for land, that type of thing.
So is it a situation where some traditional healers or some traditional leaders, both, have land that they feel spiritually connected to and called to that they will return to? Is there more like, where can we go? You government, tell us where we can go and that will make do?
Yeah, there is. In terms of heritage, people prefer to practice initiation in one spot.
Of course.
Yeah. Then in terms of the law, if they practice maybe more than 10 years on the same spot, then that sport becomes a heritage site.
I see.
To them.
I see.
Yeah. So at this point, it's kind of difficult for them, to say, okay, we practice initiation at Mooi Water next to Theewaterskloof Dam only, because that site or all the sites are not always available.
I see.
There's a variety of reasons to that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, Thabiso Mokoena, development specialist for SMMEs, which is small and medium businesses. I hope I got that right.
Yes.
I'm just the creative man. I don't know. But you do similar work to Clement in other ways about connecting communities and cultural initiatives together. Tell me about some of the work that you do.
So I'm an SMME development specialist. It's a mouthful for a lot of people. But what I basically do is develop SMMEs or try to integrate them into the work that we do as CapeNature, ensuring that they're actually benefiting from the protected areas. But my work does not only stop there. You can imagine when you go into communities, there are a whole lot of other issues that come up. And people, like Mr. Williams was saying here, used these spaces previously for a whole lot of reasons, and a lot of our nature reserve is really attached to the landscape, to objects. So that's where I come in, and together with other colleagues, we facilitate that access, where we want to ensure that people actually have a pathway into our protected areas, because you can imagine if you've been visiting a reserve for 10 years, it's almost part of your identity.
Of course.
So we allow people to be who they are, basically. Yeah.
So tell me about some of the kinds of businesses, the kinds of SMMEs, what they do that you've worked with through your role at CapeNature.
We try to integrate them into our operations. So one example that I can give you is alien vegetation management. So we need people to come and actually remove aliens, obviously for the benefit of biodiversity. But in us doing that, we also want communities to benefit and, in a way, practice what they traditionally used to practice.
I see.
So an example would be the Dehoop woodcutters. So traditionally, people would harvest wood to sustain their communities, sustain their families. So this practice continues to this day because through us developing communities, ensuring that they are successful SMMEs, they're able to then tap into business opportunities within CapeNature. So basically, you see tradition merging together with socioeconomics. Yeah.
I see. That's really, really fascinating work. So tell me a little bit about how this is not just a nice to have social inclusion, but how the work that both of you do strengthens bonds, relational bonds between people and the land, which is ironically exceptionally good for conservation, right? You know what I mean by that, Thabiso?
Yes. Yeah, it's not a nice to have because before we even had words such as protected area biodiversity, we had people who interacted with the environment. And this, I believe that this is where a lot of the culture, the spirituality, traditions were shaped through our interaction with the environment. So in a way, people cannot be separated with the environment. So if you're going to restrict people from actually practicing who they are, then I don't think it's right. So therefore, it's a right for communities and Indigenous people to continue to go back to those places to give thanks to their ancestors if they want to do that, to get healings from the forest, to just connect with the land that they used to just connect before we had these protected areas or these fancy words that we have in modern conservation. Yeah.
And also to sustain their own lives off of the land, right? To accrue wealth off of their relationship with the land. I imagine it's really important to make different communities feel like they stand to benefit from their relationship with land through things like woodcutting operations or similar SMMEs, which find ways to make money off of conserving and maintaining a sustainable relationship with nature.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the spot there, Dan, because if you look at how traditional people used to sustainably harvest resources. I remember my grandmother would harvest grass that they use for thatch and for sweeping brooms. So that in a way sustained the family. And this is not a practice that's unique to my family, but it's a practice for many communities that are neighboring protected areas. So if you allow them that traditional ecological knowledge then comes in and it merges with modern conservation practices, I think it creates a beautiful space for collaboration and a sense of stewardship towards the environment. You care for what you love.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
If I can just add to what he has said, land is very important, in our cultural practice because, for instance, initiation is not just about the cultural transition from boyhood to manhood, but the land is also important as a spot where you meet with the ancestors, where you're able to speak out whatever you experience in life, that is maybe not a good experience. So land to us is really very, very important. So I think, stakeholders like CapeNature plays a very, very significant role in this practice. For instance, they will do training to the cultural practitioners in terms of fire and environmental management. And they will also teach them, about the different plant species, which ones are good, which one are not good, that type of thing. So yeah, the initiates come out here with a wealth of information.
And the more information you have, the better a relationship of care and value and love you have for land and for natural
Definitely.
environments, right? And I think what's really extra beautiful about things, very, very sacred parts of culture, whether they be places where people get married or places where communities gather to have big discussions, make decisions for communities, or places where people go for initiation, is that it was what you guys were talking about earlier. It's like the more you go there, the more it becomes part of your heritage and identity. And so the more you are invested for caring for that place, making sure it stays the same, making sure it stays preserved, because the spirituality, the magic, the connection with past and present that is in the rocks and in the grass and in the trees and in the slopes, you want it to stay there, so that you can return to it, so that your children can return to it. It's conservation by nature, right?
Yes.
Lol, by nature.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, Thabiso, I want to know about other traditional practices besides things like woodcutting, things like seasonal harvesting or like management of the land, like on a higher level than just I'm going to cut down that tree today, that actually aid and abet conservation efforts, but also the way that like scientific reasoning would manage land, right?
I would make an example with the sour fig harvesters.
The witch harvesters?
Sour fig harvesters. So traditionally, coastal communities would harvest sour figs, and this would happen, I think, from around November, and then they would put the sour fig on the roof. Obviously, they would use some, and whatever was left over, they would put on the roof so that it dries out, and then they would use it at later seasons so they would store it in different ways. And this practice continues to this day at Walker Bay Nature Reserve. So where CapeNature actually facilitates access for communities to go into the natural environment to harvest sour figs. And it's beautiful to see because this has been happening for generations and generations. So now this is getting passed on to the next generation of harvesters. And this just shows the principle of sustainable harvesting and the understanding of how the environment works. And I think this is the message that CapeNature and most conservation agencies preach, to say that we must use resources sustainably for future generations. And I think what's beautiful to see is that that facilitation where now communities are able to go to CapeNature and have an open conversation to say, look, we want to assist in the management in terms of sustainable harvesting. And these are practices that are acceptable in conservation.
Yeah, it's also interesting because like it's that old idea that indigenous knowledge is just research before the scientific researchers got there, right? Like scientific researchers will spend 20 years and they'll come back to a community and say, you should do this. And they say, yeah, we've been doing it for 600 years. Exactly. We've already figured it out. Our great ancestors figured that out. We don't need you to tell us. Yes. We know exactly what we're doing. So I want to ask more about the Western Cape's initiation program, engaging with nature reserves, this crucial relationship that Clement, you know a lot about. What are the logistics and protocols involved in organizing access to like really sensitive cultural events like that?
We have to keep a good relationship with our stakeholders, which I believe we do manage well, starting from the communities, say families, because in terms of initiation, families are playing a key role. So it is important that when the boys are here up the mountain, it's not like they bring them here and leave them here.
Yeah.
They must come because the fathers are actually playing a very important role.
Involved role, yeah.
You know, and also, as you know, that the communities are organized, there are leaders, there are initiation school principals. So each of those components must play its role. And also what is important for us through the Department of Health is to see that the boys get good nutritional food, you know, because of the practice itself. It's strenuous on them. And what also is important, they have to know before time, why are they going for initiation?
I see.
You see? Because especially the boys in the townships, they are not so well informed like the boys in the rural areas. So the fathers have to talk to them, And what is challenging in terms of the stakeholders and families is that we're getting now more and more women-led families than previously. And that is a challenge for the practice itself because
You understand your own gender's
yeah,
path.
yes,
Not say if you're a woman to a man or a man to a woman's path.
yeah.
Sure, I understand.
And also because this practice is practiced by men who actually do not want that the women should know anything. You know, I can cite an example. I think it was 2016 in Kailicha. This boy had suffered from epilepsy. Yeah, so he didn't take his medication regularly. Now he went for medical screening and he was told that he cannot go that time. He must at least stay back for a month and use his medication, then he can go. All right, and then the boy arrived at home and shared the news with his mother.
Sure.
Then here came the uncles and said, this boy fears going.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so we won't allow this boy to tell us. He will go. Because everything has been prepared, like your slaughtering, you know, the beer and everything else.
But if you don't understand the requirements because you haven't done it,
yes,
then you can't go, okay, he's not medically capable.
He's not medically capable, you see. And I'm telling you then, that boy went in that Saturday afternoon. The next day, the Sunday, he was dead.
Terrible.
That's terrible.
So you need to have information flow so that people can make informed decisions.
And I'm telling you, talking about information, this program is the most work that I'm doing, sharing information the whole time.
Right.
Because somewhere decisions are made, somewhere changes are made to the standing decision, so I must inform everybody else. You know, like now we have this form, or that we call consent form.
Yeah.
That form is signed by the person who's going for initiation, the parent, the traditional caregiver, and the traditional surgeon will be doing the circumcision. That is now the part of DCAS. Yeah. Then the backside is the part of Department of Health.
Right.
Yeah, so they have a list of things there that needs to be checked and boxes to tick, you know. Yeah. Now, the communities came to us and said, listen, this form is written in English.
Not helpful.
Yeah, and that is a challenge. We want this form to be translated into isiXhosa. And it was now translated. And then they realized that the terminology used by the doctors...
Hard to translate.
No, it's disrespectful.
Oh, interesting.
To the culture.
Interesting.
Because, you know, for all these things, we've got different words we're using.
Word choice, yeah.
You know, so that,
interesting.
Yeah, so that it doesn't sound like, you know.
So they had to change it again.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, we had to go for a middle line.
Yeah.
And that was leave the part of the Department of Health English.
Yes.
Because they accept actually...
That's so interesting.
Yeah, the word...
English terminology.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a type of challenges we come across, you know. Now, and also with different stakeholders that plays different roles. I have, each time, like today I'm here, I must now be here like I'm one of CapeNature's officials and understand, you know, the environment, you know. And now if I go to the Department of Health, if I get there, then they will talk now about testing and whatever. Now I must understand what testing is.
I hear you.
You know. So for me, it's really a role to play, I think.
Yeah,
you know,
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Trying to make different worlds make sense to each other.
Yeah, like your municipalities,
for sure.
Land rezoning. I must understand those things.
I get you.
You know, and the processes.
Sounds like a challenging but very rewarding job, I have to say. Thabiso, I want to end with you and ask, so I love all this work and this drive towards making sure people have access to land, can develop their relationship with land, can preserve their spiritual practices, cultural practices, communal practices, gain wealth and have sustainable lives off of land and nature. And then the question that always comes is, how do we manage it such that people are reaping the benefits without destroying or making the natural environment unsustainable in this, like in that new relationship? So what protocols are in place? What strategies are in place from CapeNature to make sure that people are getting the most out of the land and the natural environment, but also that the land and the natural environment is surviving the increase in people?
I think Mr. Williams here captured the complexities when it comes to working with cultural practices or spiritual traditional, because there's so many maybe language barriers. There is so much respect that we have to give to certain activities or practices. So having that balance is very important. That's why we work with different stakeholders such as DCAS. And CapeNature also has a program that they implement in the Western Cape called People and Parks program.
Oh, interesting.
And this is a program where we have a network of communities which we engage with on a regular basis, tackling issues such as socioeconomic issues, awareness and capacity building, community stewardship, and also cultural access. So this is where we are able to co-create processes so that they do not only suit management authorities such as CapeNature, but also talk to what communities need, because we have to strike that balance. Because I think the conversation that we're having here today just shows how deep it is that communities actually have a living relationship with the environment, which is rooted in ancestry, in their identity, and also cultural continuity. So in a way, we cannot create processes that would only suit what we think is best for biodiversity. We have to bridge that gap. And CapeNature has processes which facilitate access for cultural, spiritual, and traditional purposes, including for consumptive use. This is where we're talking about harvesting. And we also have our stakeholder engagement officers, which are our ground soldiers. So they are always in the communities, listening to the communities. I always say that they live in both worlds, because they sit in the boardroom where we discuss in policy legislation, and then go to communities where they just focus on implementation and the practical element of them accessing our protected areas. And I think the environment which CapeNature has created enables us to have these honest conversations with communities, basically building trust and also this sense of stewardship to say, these protected areas are actually not for the officials that work in them, but they're actually for the citizens of the Western Cape and essentially South Africa. Yeah.
Amazing. What a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much to both Clement and Thabiso for your time. And thank you to you for watching and listening to another special episode from Green Noise Season 3 from CapeNature, honoring culture and ancestors in conservation.